Hello everyone, and there we have it, a session looking at the area of fraud. So insights into current frauds and mitigations across the whole ecosystem. Wider, I could not have left that title, but there's so much ground to cover. And we're almost at the end of day 2, and that means almost at the end of MEF Connect's Wholesale 2022. But certain themes and topics have been coming up time and again. And I think for me, the key one is simplicity. Whatever it is we're talking about, whether it's collaboration between mobile network operators and others within the ecosystem, whether it's the commercial model you're employing, whatever the solution is, whether it's SMS or A2P voice flash calling, keep it simple, because that makes life easier. It means something is more understandable, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, with people more likely to toe the party line, shall we say, and do the right thing, because that's at the end of the day, we need people to do that to sustain the ecosystem. So our final session is sponsored by the main sponsor of the event, which is Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. They started the event yesterday. The chap who runs Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, Ralf Naftiger, opened the event with his keynote, and indeed Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier are going to be closing the event right now with a session looking at, guess what, security and wholesale. It's a natural conclusion, because throughout the 2 days we've been talking about growth, we've been talking about opportunities, we've touched upon roaming, we've touched upon voice, SMS, CPaaS, automation, regulation, so many different things. And at the end of the day, no matter how great the solution is, how amazing the business model is, and how fantastic the actual connectivity is, without that trust, it all comes to nothing. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Andras Levak, who is product manager with Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. Andras, hi.
Hello, colleagues. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, we can see you, you're all set. You're good to go, Andras.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, James. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I am working on sharing my screen. Okay.
No problem. So just share your screen, share your presentation, and introduce the people on your panel. And as soon as they're introduced, they will be brought on. And I'll leave it for now. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, James.
Hello there. Well, Andras, you're working on sharing your presentation, but in the meantime, if you don't mind, I'll introduce your fellow colleagues on the panel. So I'd like to introduce Carlos, Gamboa, Bontje. Carlos, you there?
Hi, James.
Hello,
thank you
Carlos.
very much.
You. So you're from Telefónica Global Solutions. What do you do with Telefónica Global Solutions?
Well, I'm an IPX product manager at Telefónica Global Solutions, and in my position, I look into the IPX ecosystem, starting from the basic connectivity we offer, the basic roaming services we offer on top of it, data roaming, signaling, and especially now what keeps me awake at night is 5G roaming signaling, which will be also one of the topics we address today.
Fantastic. And also joining the panel, we have Mohammed Taufik Hidayat. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, James. Yeah, you can call me Taufik, and because it's a long time ago, the people always call me Taufik, so I'm getting used to it. If someone call me Muhammad, I need to text 2 or 3 times and then getting used to it.
Okay.
And I'm based in Frankfurt am Main in Germany, and working for Deutsche Telekom in signaling department, or in the voice signaling service as part of the big group from network infrastructure. And where I can say I was working before for several vendors and have supported in many end-to-end area in Southeast Asia, Europe, or all over the world. Yeah, that's so far from me. And at the moment, we are very busy also, like Carlos said, as we are very busy with the 5G because especially in our roaming area, it will become the new thing for us. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you for joining me with this in a great forum. Yeah.
No, it's great having you here. So signaling, the likes of signaling and IPX, they're the glue that really hold all of telecoms together. And the last person on the panel, I'm going to pronounce his name totally wrong, I know. Ewout Pronk. Hi.
Hi. It wasn't so bad, actually, James.
Wasn't it so bad? Okay,
No,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. So,
right.
introduce yourself. Go for it.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ewout Pronk. I work for a company called Titan.ium. This is a spin-off of the company called NetNumber that probably rings a bell by many of you. So the software business of that company is now contained in Titan.ium. What I do there, I'm responsible for strategy on security and fraud. And a big part of my role is actually to be active in standardization. So one of the big tasks I have is in GSMA. I'm chair of the desk group, which looked after security by design for 5G, as well as some retrofitting for diameter interconnect security. And I'm usually also join other forums such as CFCA, i3 forum, and now also the MEF.
Please do. Our fraud and security group. It would be unfair not to plug that. Anyway, I'll leave you guys to it now. Andras, please feel free to take it away with the presentation, which we can show for you if needs be, and enjoy the session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you see the screen, right? Okay, excellent. Let me see if it works. If I change the slide, does it work? Can you see the slide is moving to the next one?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So colleagues, welcome everyone. Let me first very shortly describe how we want to do this session. We're going to have a few slides, a little bit to set the stage for the topic. So we're going to talk about what's the problem, what's the problem statement that we want to talk about here. Basically, the topic that we talk about is wholesale security. That's, let's say, the wider topic area, but we're going to more focus on security in the 5G roaming enablement from a wholesale perspective. Wholesale perspective in our case means rather the IPX provider perspective. So we are in the IPX provider space. We are enabling roaming connectivity between the mobile network operators, and we have specialists here in the room. So welcome to all the colleagues who have been introduced. They are the IPX product managers from our IPX peering partners, as well as some of the technical experts from specialist companies like Titan.ium. Welcome to everyone. So let's go to the, let's jump on the problem statement. After stating the problem, we will propose some of the solutions and some of the market that we have, and some of the market developments that we have. And then we would like to open up, let's say, an open discussion. We are very happy to receive any questions from the audience that we can discuss about. And with that, I would like to hand over to Ewout. I'm not sure that I said the name correctly. I am still trying. So Ewout, I would kindly ask you to introduce your slides here. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Andras. I lost the slides on my screen now. It's not very convenient. Yes. Okay. Thanks. That helps a lot. Okay. So where do we come from? Like was introduced by James already, we speak about wholesale, we speak about business, but now suddenly we speak about signaling and about security. And this is actually a quite serious and heavy topic and very related to all the business that we do. We have seen attacks on the interconnect growing for years. We could say this discussion around interconnect security started around 2010, 2011. And by now, actually, there are so many attacks reported on the signaling interconnect. Basically, to target mainly the subscribers. So where are these people after? They're after subscriber assets, such as location information or call data, etc. And who are those people from a security perspective? This can be nation states directly that attack the international interconnect, or it can also be surveillance companies that do that on behalf of other companies, individuals, or even on behalf of nation states. I'm not going into all the details of the attack vectors right now because we are a bit under time pressure, and that's quite detailed. One thing is interesting to say is that in this interconnect world, if you look at security, we don't see, amateurs, script kiddies, digital vandalism, all these things you see in IT. You don't see that much in the telecom as of yet, which means actually that the attackers that we face on the signaling internet are professionals, right? And they're after high value targets. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
I'm still on the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a few words on this. It's a very famous picture you see on the right side. I lost the slide. I'm not sure if you can still see it. Yes, it's back now. So that was also mentioned in the previous panel. This is a banking fraud with SMS. So the sender is spoofed, and the subscriber gets this message from HSBC in the same stream as the normal message from HSBC. And there are serious consequences for our consumers. Banking fraud is a very popular topic in the signaling interconnect. So fraudsters are mainly after the subscribers' money, where if you look at it from a security, not fraud perspective, they are more after subscriber assets, let's say location information, call data, for other reasons usually than money. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. Why is it bigger than ever? I already talked about this a little bit. So we have increasing risk because we have parallel networks. Every 10 years, we switch on a new generation. Now, SS7 has been there, of course, for decades. Then diameter came, now 5G with HTTP2. And we have all these networks now in parallel. And that increases already the risk. They're just simply more attack factors. Fraud is becoming a bigger problem because the voice revenue is going down for years, SMS revenue as well, by the way. And the fraud portion in that is going up, of course. So this is not a trend you would like to have. And as I stated before, the hackers are becoming more professional, the attackers. So whatever we do now we're soon going to talk about 5G, needs to be at least on par with what these attackers do, because these attackers are extremely skilled and well organized. And it's time for the telco industry to have the same form of organization as a counter defense. Next slide. Okay, this is just a slide to see all types of attacks. We have a quadrant here. On the bottom side, you see security and fraud. And on the left side, you see network and consumer. And now you can actually chop this up into 4 different areas. So consumer security, consumer fraud, network security, and network fraud. Just to be a bit brief on this slide, in 5G, we will try to fix on the interconnect some of these attacks, but certainly not all. So we should know that whatever we do in 5G is going to increase the security. But some of those attacks could still remain or could happen in a different way. But at least we expect in 5G interconnect security to make a big step forward. Next slide. I think we're almost at the questions and the discussion by now. Okay, next one, Andras. Yes, okay, a standardization picture where I'm very active in. So when we did security in the previous generations, so if you look at SS7 and diameter, this was done retrofitting. So everything that happened around security came later. Security firewall, signaling firewall came later, as well as all the documentation in GSMA came later. And the protocols itself, they are not protected. So they're not encrypted, and there's no, let's say, integrity protection. And in 5G, we want to do that completely different. We have predefined all the security elements, all the security rules, and we start from day one with secure protocols. So each message is authentic. You know who sent it. It's integrity protected, so you're sure that it's not changed by somebody who shouldn't change them. And it's encrypted, right? And that will give us a head start if you look at security in 5G. The next one, this is, I think, almost the last one before we go into discussion. So what you see here is just a different perspective. So if you look at SS7, there's only protection via signaling firewall. That is, of course, very good protection, right? Signaling firewalls are there for a reason, and they do very good. It's just not a mandatory element, and a lot of operators at the moment just don't bother with the signaling firewall. So in diameter, we have the same. We have signaling firewall, and now we have the first things in standard where we work on signing diameter messages. So we have that security, but it's retrofitted, and retrofitting security is extremely difficult. It's usually a very good business reason or a regulator that should tell you to do something. Think about stir shaking in the US. That would not happen, all the signing of calls, if regulators don't tell that you need to do it. In 5G, it's different because we put the security inside the network elements and in the standardization, right? One thing we shouldn't forget is even when you're on 5G, the so-called standalone core with the N32 and the SAPs, if you're more technical, you could easily fall down to LTE. Particularly in the beginning, there will be 5G cores connected with a LTE core network on the interconnect at least. So you would then fall down to LTE. And when you send SMS or do a circuit street fallback in a call, you even go back all the way to 2G, 3G. So you have all this pile of signaling where parts of it are very good protected and others are not so much protected. So this is just the area where we operate in. And in the panel, we have a few trigger questions where we can discuss how this can cooperate. So what's the best way forward with all these different generations? Can we actually win because we have more generations now? Can we do better security and legacy just because we have 5G security now? So that's all up for the questions. And I think, Andras, this was almost the last slide. Just want to say in standardization, yeah, thanks. We have kind of a bigger challenge to standardize 5G signaling because we have three very strong currents. We have the business considerations, if you will, the IPX business model with all the services that are delivered there in transit for signaling. We have security, and we want to have something that is easy to operate, right? And you see the three different GSMA groups, if you know them, connected to those bubbles. And what we actually look for in standards is the sweet spot to make everybody happy. And this has proven to be extremely difficult because we seem to always be able to satisfy two of the three. But to satisfy them all is a tough job. So standardization is ongoing. We don't go into the details. We see it's converging now at this stage. And hopefully we will get a successful outcome that we can say at some point, well, it's a consensus, but everybody is happy. All right. I think this was the introduction finally now, Andras. So I think over to you now.
Thank you very much, Ewout. Thank you for setting the stage. I really hope that for the audience now, it's rather clear what's the subject of this session and what we would like to focus on. What's the topic about? I would like to say, please feel free to ask any question, and I am not sure how I will get those questions. Maybe I will see them on the chat here or somehow, but somehow please let me know if the audience is asking any questions. We are okay here on the chat. Okay, thank you. In any case, just to be on the safe side, we also prepared some questions in advance so that we are okay. And dear panelist colleagues here, right? Just jump on any questions as you feel like. So how can 5G also better secure also the legacy networks? I think this is exactly what Ewout was talking about in a couple of slides before, right? So I guess this is where we are about it. That actually you can fall back from 5G to 4G, and actually that's phase 1 and phase 2, and the evolution from there to the SEP is what we see as the, let's say, backward security. Taufik, Carlos, any comment from you on that?
Yeah, I think I can take this opinion and put my opinion in this, and also with the support from our panel here. So we can see how can 5G also better secure also for legacy network. Yeah, several points I need to mention here. So if we are talking how 5G can have a better security than legacy network, I want to highlight about especially in the subscriber side. Yeah. So in the legacy or in the 2G, 3G, 4G, we know in the SIM we have an IMSI, the unique identifier. The problem in the legacy, the IMSI, maybe some of you already knows, send unencrypted over the air when the phone or device first connected to the network or as it was requested. And this facilitated IMSI catcher to intercept the IMSI. Like this IMSI catcher work by simulating a cell site or fake site, or could be with the strongest signal and utilizing a procedure to capture the IMSI from the device. Then this fake file acted as a man in the middle to relay the data, information to, and from a legitimate cell site, and all the time looking or tapping, eavesdropping, and intercepting data. And well, in 5G, disrupt this potential vulnerability. Yeah, in 5G, there is a SUPI or subscription permanent identifier, or like an IMSI, and also a subscription concealed identifier or SUCI. Yeah, SUCI as encrypted form from SUCI. So there are two, not only one. Like in the legacy, it's only IMSI, but in 5G we have SUCI and SUCI, and the SUPI is converted to a SUCI by encrypting the MSIN or mobile subscription identification number, and it's the encrypted version of the SUPI that is sent over the air in 5G network, which is SUCI. And later IMF will take it, request, and UDM to retrieve the SUPI later. So with 5G, the subscriber identifier is concealed through the SUPI sent over the air as a SUSI for decryption and UDM. With this method of encryption in 5G SIM, sure our data is protected since the beginning. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the reasons why 5G better than legacy network. Yeah, but however, there are still vulnerabilities. Like if will be there more security risks on 5G device? Yes, the security risk is always there. Yeah, many devices will connect it.
Taufik, I think you are also partly addressing our second question, which is built-in security, right? What is the meaning of built-in security? And I think SUPI and SUHI, what you just mentioned, I think this is exactly it, right? So the technology itself is designed in a way that is more secure than the previous legacy. Exactly. Colleagues, in the meantime, I think maybe we should also look at what the audience is asking, right? So I know we have our predefined questions, but yeah, let's focus on what the audience is curious about. Do you agree, or yeah? I would kind of prefer to look at what the colleagues are interested in. So one question coming in is, I think it's a very fair question. Can 5G be hacked?
Well,
it's a yes or no.
I'm not the security expert, but I'd say yes. Don't ask me how, but with security, you have to assume that there's always a vulnerability. And I think that's one of the things that we have to consider with 5G. is that we are covering and securing interconnect, which is very important. And as Ewout mentioned, we have seen a lot of attacks growing over the last 10, 12 years. But protecting one element creates other weak links. At the end, security is about the weakest link. Will create other weak links. We will create new attack surface. Probably social engineering will be more relevant. In 5G, we'll have to look at how we really implement the key management, how attackers can disrupt that key management, for example. So there will be always new challenges. And I would like to link this with the previous question that we addressed, how 5G can make legacy solutions more secure. And I think the primary effect 5G will have is that it will create awareness. Operators and IPX providers will be more aware of the need of securing the interconnect. And once they do it with 5G, I hope that there will be less hesitant to implement death phase 1 for LTE, or look for solutions that combine the information that we receive through 5G signaling with is authenticated, introduce that information into signaling firewalls for 4G and 3G, and cross-protect. But I think the main factor here is awareness. I mean, we have to be aware that there are security risks that we can tackle it, and 5G will have its problems, and we should be open to addressing and face them when they come.
Yeah. Ewout, yes, you can take the second question, but before that, let me just comment quickly on what Carlos said, and back to the original question, whether the 5G can be hacked or not. I think maybe an extended version of this question could be which part of the 5G network can be hacked. So which part of the network is the most vulnerable one? I mean, we as an IPX provider, right, Telefónica, Global, Deutsche Telekom Global, and our partners in this industry, I think our responsibility is to make the international connectivity part as secure as possible, right? So everybody has its own role and responsibility in the chain, in the value chain, to protect the relevant part of the network, whether it's the radio access part or the core network part or whatever. But I think here with the DES phase 1, DES phase 2, and the SEP protocol, I think we are, let's say, our ambition is to make the international connectivity part as secure as possible. Ewout, it's back to you with the next question. Or Taufik, you wanted to mention something?
Yeah, if 5G can be hacked, yeah, I just want to quick. Several we can thinking about in the device and also in the system, like in the 5G core. Security risk is always there. Many devices will connect it, will have connectivity, could be million in several wells. The attack risk becomes more greater. Yeah, device needs security. Always, hacker always try to exploit and always try to find the security gap of the weakness. Yeah, it can be also from the user. It can be man in the middle attack, or also like in the supply chain attack, where the software developer and supplier source code infiltrated and infected with malware. And yeah, 5G phones or IoT device infected with malware. It can be like tracking the user, Mac component not properly working, or represent a significant threat. Also, if the other things we are going to the virtualization, which is 5G core is more in virtualization, it will be created a more complex. And we think later, but also regarding with another question later, maybe I can edit more. Yeah, but we have to have like another approach if we are thinking about security, not always thinking like before, like legacy, but now we need to thinking about in the like because 5G is more in the software defined or more in the application area. We should to think about like in the cyber security, how to protect the network function and so more. Yeah, that's I will talk about later. Ewout, you will going to
Ewout?
Yeah. Maybe it's okay. We go to the next question. What are the security concerns regarding 5G? It's kind of linked to if 5G can be hacked. So I want to try to answer this question as best as I can. I think in 5G, in general, if you look at interconnect, the attack surface is much bigger. Now we are serving a lot of customers, which are a lot of humans, and some IoT. And in 5G, we would have much more IoT, being in cars, medical equipment, etc. So the first thing we can say is the attack surface is bigger. Then we can also say something about the protocol. So we are moving to secure protocols, but if you add security, you also add you add risk, or I wouldn't say vulnerabilities, but opportunities for attackers. If you add security, you add certificates, etc., which gives opportunities for attackers to act as a trusted entity. If you can hack or you can compromise a certificate for a network element, you can basically say you're somewhere else, and that somebody else, and that operator might then trust that. So that's another risk actually. We add security, and with security you also add risk that security can be hacked or compromised. And another security concern is that 5G is complex, and also the security of 5G is complex, including key management. So the whole way the core network is built is different. There's a lot of things in the cloud somewhere that weren't there before. So all these things, I just mentioned 4 now, already give some headaches, which are security concerns that we have to deal with. It gets more complex, and the attack surface gets bigger.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Colleagues, let's jump, because in the meantime, we have another audience question. So how more secure is 5G from 4G? And talking about the commercial models, is it way more expensive? Can you give us a figure? If you allow me, just a short introduction to answer this question. Ewout had an excellent slide with the 3 bubbles, right? So we are looking for the sweet spot between commercial viability, or let's say profitability, right? To make our bread and butter business continuity, right? From the legacy networks, we want to continue the business also in 5G. Then we have operational effectiveness, and then we have security. And we need to find the sweet spot between these 3 elements. And it's relatively easy to find 2 of them satisfied, but then we have a problem with the 3rd one, right? So we can have an operational effectiveness and very secure, but it's going to be so expensive that it's not going to be commercially viable. Or we can have operational effectiveness, commercially viable, but then it's not going to be secure enough. So my answer to this question would be that there is a huge, let's say, trade-off in this. So you can spend all the money of the world on security, then you will have a very secure network, but it's not going to be commercially viable. So I think it's about finding the sweet spot in the middle between the different perspectives and considerations. Mm-hmm. And how much maybe one company is spending a bit more than another company, depending on maybe local regulation, maybe certain companies tend to spend more money on security than other companies. So yeah, so it can become very expensive for sure.
When you're talking about money, it's always several factors will be in it.
Yeah. Maybe I can add also. it's very difficult to measure how more secure it will be. What I explained is that we have more secure protocols, right? So in the interconnect on the IPX network, things are better protected, that we know. So we can't do it as we did it in the past. I think in the past, for the business opportunities, it was really maximized because any intermediate player in the chain could see all the traffic and basically, build a service on that. But it has to be done differently. But we try in the standards to take care that we don't destroy the IPX business model just by adding security. That is not in the interest of IPX providers, of course, but it's also not in the interest of the operators. And the smaller ones, the bigger ones that want scalability. So we have to deal with those services. Maybe we have to build them differently, in a more secure way, not in transit. But if you speak about cost, what is the cost of reputation loss in 5G if we continue the way we do? How regulators are looking at this ecosystem by now and say, you need to do something. And maybe you should also fix your legacy to a certain extent, because we have this legacy like diameter for around maybe 10, 20 years to come. So that has also a price that we have, let's say, not so good security in the previous generations that is now solved in 5G. And to finalize, and maybe we touch upon later in this panel, adding security also adds business to players in the IPX ecosystem like carriers, because they can offer security as a service to operators, which is more scalable. And maybe some parties are better off that can't do that security alone. They have another entity doing that on their behalf. So it's also opportunities. Security is not only bad, it has a lot of benefits and even commercial opportunities.
Yeah, it's also related with Ewout said that do not think security will blocking you, but think it will avoid the worst case what will happen to you. And actually later it will make your life easy, or you will make more opportunity. And yeah, we must have a good framework regarding security. If it not, maybe we can use the best practice, follow security standard from standard organization, utilizing strong security framework in the organization. Adopt zero trust, examine our security system, examine our vendor, always aware that bad things could always be happen to your network. Yeah.
Colleagues, just being aware of time, I think we have maybe a couple of minutes left. Carlos, maybe some closing words from your side?
Well, I'd like to continue a bit with the thoughts that Ewout mentioned last. I think that we've seen from the interconnect industry, the IPX providers, security partly as a risk of our business model, but I think there, as Ewout mentioned, there are chances for us to continue providing services to our customers, to the operators. I think that 5G and 5G security brings additional complexity to the ecosystem, and we carriers are experts in handling this complexity for the operators. So I think there will be an opportunity for us, and improving the security of the whole ecosystem is also relevant to the IPX providers. So security in 5G is welcome. And as I said at the beginning, I hope that it will create awareness for security in other services and other technologies.
Yeah. Colleagues, last words from me. Thank you so much for the audience, for the excellent questions. Thank you very much for my dear colleagues, panelists, for this overview about 5G security. And thank you for the opportunity, James, for having this panel here.
No problem at all. And thank you very much for rounding off a lovely event, Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. And thanks to all our speakers. So I'll stay on just to close the event, but all the very best to all of you here. Thank you.
Thank you.